In today's world, we do a lot of communication, and communication technology has gone a long way. From human messengers, to Pony Express mail, to telephone and telegraph, and radio and television, to today's email and internet, communication technologies have become very advanced, especially in the last few hundred years. So, in today's advanced world, what could one say is the most advanced way of communication? Well, you could say that if I recorded a video, uploaded it to YouTube, then you watched it as we're doing now, it could be the most advanced in terms of technology way of communicating right now. What would be the simplest or least advanced way to communicate? You could say Morse Code is a very strong contender. Morse Code, you may have heard, is dots and dashes. Or you may have heard this sound, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, or something like that. And you might have seen those clickers with the button and kind of a desk with a button on it, and people would click like this to send messages. You may have seen those in movies or television. And so how does Morse code work? Well, Morse code is very simple code, much like the ones and zeros that computers use. Each letter is represented by a combination of dots and dashes. Dots representing a short beep, a dit, and dashes representing a long beep, or a da. So, for example, a T would be da, and then an E would be a dit, and then an A would be a dit-da. So T, as in tea time, would be da, dit, da. And of course, you have small pauses between each letter and each word to indicate that you're moving along a letter or word. So Morse code is very versatile because it's only made up of essentially two different codes, two different letters, and the space between them. You can send Morse code using almost anything. You don't have to have one of those da 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 touchers, the beepers. For example, some people can send Morse code using their eyes. So imagine, if I want to send the word tea time, I could do, this is a T, a long blink, and then E, a short blink, and then A short blink, then a long blink. So actually, someone used this to send a secret message over TV. So this guy, he was a US soldier, and he was captured as a soldier of war, or as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam. So they took him and made him a prisoner and whatever. But at that time, they didn't know what they were doing to these people. So he actually had the chance to be in a TV interview where they asked him stuff like, oh, how's the conditions? And he had to was forced to answer, the conditions are very good. They give me a lot of food to eat, and I get medical assistance when I need it. And he was forced to say that. But even though the conditions were much, much worse. And actually, while saying that, in the kind of pretext of being blinded by the television cameras, he started blinking very weirdly. A very strange blinking. He would blink like, and then pause for a second, and then people in the US, after seeing this news broadcast, very quickly they thought, oh, that's Morse code. Actually, he was sending the word torture in Morse code, confirming that the North Vietnamese were torturing American soldiers. And so he would send something like, we learned T is a dash, so he would go, and then O is 3 long dashes. And so he would send the word torture like that, even while answering the question saying, oh yeah, I have very good food, I have very good Even while doing that, he was able to do that. So Morse code is so versatile. Also, it can be used for if people have certain disabilities. So there's actually a way to communicate. Because right now, when people have disabilities and they can't move, like Stephen Hawking, they look and they can track their eyes, and they can type out basically by looking at a keyboard on the screen, and whichever letter they look at, that's letters typed out. But that system is super advanced. So what's the least advanced system? Well, they actually have a system where they have a tube, and then the patient blows through the tube or sucks the tube corresponding to a dot or a dash. So it would go like... So to send T, or tea time, I would go, let's say blowing out is a dash and blowing in is a dot, I would go... or... Pretty interesting. So we can see that Morse code is very versatile. But also, Morse code was popular back then, because back then they had to use the telegraphs. They had to use the clickers. Because back then you think, oh, now we have texting, and we have Skype, and we have voice, we have calling, we have voice calling, or video calling, we have social media, we have Twitter, we have everything. But back then they could only use a beep, 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 beep. So how did they do it? They would have translators and transcriptors who would look at long blocks of text. Let's say I wanted to send to my friend, hey, do you want to do something? I don't know. Do you want to go to the mall? Or something like that. I don't know. Just a random text. Then they would look at that and then transcript it. Beep, 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 beep. And then a guy on the other end, let's say I'm in California, and the guy in New York would hear the beeps and then write out the text. Then that text would be at the post office and very quickly given to whoever needed to receive it. And back then you needed to do all this complicated stuff. But now, because there's so much, now there's radio, now there's everything, now there's internet, Morse code has been phased out. The U.S. Air Force only trains 10 people a year in Morse code, as opposed to before they basically trained everyone, because everyone needed to be in the pilot and they needed to be constantly listening for the beep, beep, beep. And also the U.S. Coast Guard, they don't train anyone. They've completely abandoned Morse code, and they've even stopped listening to Morse code on the frequencies. So now Morse code seems like, oh, this is going to die out, right? And this is probably never going to be used anymore. But because it's so simple, because it's so versatile, it's still used. For example, I don't know if this is true, but in many spy movies, you can see the guy, and he probably has a pen. And let's say he's wanted to send a message to his friend nearby, but there are people listening, so he can't say it. He has to just very subtly hold the pen. Then, let's say this is a dot and this is a dash. So if you want to send T, like tea time, well then T E A, and he would send it. And in these spy movies, you can see the people they're sending. Maybe not with this, maybe with taps, maybe with chopsticks even. They're sending very quickly. And then the other guy can, hear it. And then they pretend to be talking about the weather. Oh, how's your food? But in the beginning, they're sending stuff about, oh my god, the criminals, blah, 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 blah. The enemy location, or something like that. So that's pretty interesting. And also, this really happened. Katy Perry, in 2013, released her album Prism. And back then, you try to always we still try to always hype stuff up, right? So in the hyping process, she thought of using Morse code to kind of secretly send out the album. So in Hollywood, they have a building, the Capitol Records building. In the Capitol Records building, on the very top, there's a light. And by using a light or by using a flashlight, you can send Morse code, because there's an on and there's an off. So previously, the light always was blinking, either Hollywood or Capitol, depending on who you ask. It was blinking something. But before Katy Perry released her album Prism, she kind of told some people, and she got the light to start blinking Katy Perry Prism October something 2013. But no one noticed, and no one was observant enough, and no one knew Morse code. But if someone knew, imagine how cool that would be. Boom, they're super hyped, and then she used Morse code to do it. Wow. So it can be at once a very versatile and even secretive and very fashionable almost way of communication. So after reading all this, I was like, I have to try Morse code, right? So I searched online for Morse code typer online or something like that. And there was actually some websites which allowed you to use the space bar on your keyboard as one of those typers. So, I mean, I only tried to do it for 2 minutes, but I was eventually able to get "Hello, my name is George" using the Morse code. But I made like 99% of my text were mistakes, spelling out stuff like EXTBBBA or something like that, and then only like 1% of the text were actually the correct letters. But anyways, I was able to get it to work, and I thought, wow, how cool it would be to send stuff using Morse code. That's kind of like, back then people thought, Morse code, oh, why can't I just go on the phone? Back then they didn't have phones, but why can't I just talk to them? But now, I have voice calling and video calling right at my fingertips, and I still think Morse code is pretty cool. So these very simple technologies sometimes, even as simple as Morse code, simple communication, dots and dashes, because of their simplicity, because of their versatility, they can be very powerful. So simple things can sometimes be extremely powerful.